How I Transformed a $34 million Empire, Yet Faced Heart-Wrenching Words from My Daughter. Jonathan Carter rushed through the door, just another day of hustling through back-to-back meetings and negotiations. The warmth of his home greeted him, not the coldness of a boardroom. But tonight wasn't just another night. Tonight, he could feel it in the air, the shifting dynamics in his family, like the autumn leaves swirling outside. He had built a $34 million logistics empire, clawed through despair and sacrifice like his father, a decorated military vet who had taught him the relentless pursuit of the American dream. Yet, against this backdrop of success, Jonathan was missing the one thing that mattered most, his daughter, Emily. He stepped into the cozy kitchen, the smell of homemade chili wafting around him, but the atmosphere was thick. The table, carefully set for 3, was a stark reminder of how many dinners he had missed. Emily had grown quieter over the years, her laughter fading while he chased deals and growth. As autumn settled its golden hues across the town, Jonathan dismissed Emily's school events as minor inconveniences, unaware of the growing resentment draping over their relationship like a heavy cloak. But that evening, after another missed family dinner, everything changed. The door creaked open, and there stood Emily, 15 years old, fiery and heartbroken. Tears streamed down her cheeks like rivers flowing down rocky cliffs. "You're never home for me," she cried, her voice a mixture of anguish and truth that shattered the walls of the cozy living room. Each word felt like a dagger, piercing through Jonathan's carefully constructed facade of success. In that moment, time stood still. Jonathan felt a tightness in his chest, the weight of his daughter's sorrows reverberating through him. All his achievements, his empire, his wealth, it felt superficial, small against the enormity of Emily's need for a father. He was caught in a network of unacknowledged emotions, a realization dawning that the pursuit of success had come at an unbearable cost. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. As Jonathan grappled with the emptiness inside, the world around him shifted cruelly. He couldn't ignore the economic divide widening in his hometown. Families around him were struggling. One family in particular caught his attention, a single mother with 3 kids facing eviction. Their plight tugged at his heartstrings and ignited a longing for purpose beyond profit. Could he use his success to propel not only himself, but his entire community? But Jonathan stood conflicted. A monumental business deal loomed on the horizon, promises of more wealth, more power. Yet, was this the kind of legacy he wanted to leave for Emily? The tension in his heart grew unbearable as he stood before a choice that felt like an impasse: chase after the American dream or reach out to his daughter. Then, just as the weight of his dilemma pulled him deeper, Jonathan received a call. It was Emily. "Dad, I need to talk. There's something important, and I can't do this alone," she said, her voice trembling yet resolute. A chill of uncertainty washed over him. Would she give him a second chance? Jonathan knew then this could redefine everything. Jonathan's heart raced as he stared at the phone in disbelief. Emily needed him. She had reached out, and for the first time in months, a flicker of hope pierced through his self-imposed isolation. He took a steadying breath and dialed back. "Hey, Em, I'm here. What's going on?" His voice trembled slightly, revealing the urgency that gripped him. I can't do this anymore, Dad. I feel so lost, and I have things I want to share, but I need you to really listen," she said, the words spilling out like a stream that had finally broken through a dam. Jonathan's apprehension melted into determination. "Okay, where do you want to meet? Can we go to the park? You know, the one by the old oak tree?" Memories surged like a tide. They had spent countless afternoons beneath that sprawling oak, sharing ice cream and dreams. Of course, I'll be there in 10. As he drove, each passing block seemed to echo the weight of the night's revelations. Jonathan replayed their last meaningful conversations, the laughter that had faded, the moments he had allowed to slip through his fingers. Now, in a desperate bid for redemption, he was ready to listen. The park was lit by the fading golden hues of the sunset, casting warm shadows against Emily's figure as she waited. Her arms were crossed, and she wore a hoodie that swallowed her frame, childlike yet so mature all at once. When their eyes met, a fracture appeared in Jonathan's heart. "Hi, Em," he said softly, stepping closer. "I'm really glad you called." Emily nodded, her eyes darting away, to the ground, as if searching for the words she needed. "Dad, I just don't know who you are anymore." Each syllable landed with a thud. His daughter's pain was palpable, wrapping around him like a suffocating fog. "I know I've been absent. I don't even care about how successful you are, Dad. All I want is for you to be there for me. You missed my play. You missed my birthdays. It's like you don't even see me." Her voice cracked, and Jonathan felt rage and shame mingle violently inside him. "I'm so sorry, Emily. You have to believe me. I never meant to hurt you." "Then why did you keep choosing your work over me? I can't keep waiting for you to notice me." It felt as if the ground shifted beneath them. Jonathan understood now. His daughter wasn't asking for extravagant gestures or promises of a better future. She was pleading for his presence, for his heart. "I want to be there for you," he said, urgency building in his tone. "I just didn't realize how much I was missing until tonight. Please help me fix this. Let me show you I can change." Emily hesitated. Her breath was a mix of sadness and hope, and that moment hung heavy in the air between them. They were standing on the edge of something new, a chance for Jonathan to reclaim both his daughter and his own purpose. But just as she opened her mouth to respond, a sudden commotion broke their moment. A group of children raced past them, laughing and shouting. The sound was joyful, yet it served as a sharp reminder of the innocence and individual moments he had let slip away. Turning back to Emily, Jonathan saw a flicker of something in her eyes, a blend of uncertainty and possibility. "Em, let's change that together. What if we make a plan? Start fresh?" Her brow furrowed, battling her doubts before she finally met his gaze. "Promise me you'll really try." Jonathan nodded, heart pounding with a blend of hope and fear. "I promise." As they stood together beneath the old oak tree, two hearts finally aligning after a long detour, Jonathan knew this was just the beginning. The phone buzzed in his pocket, a reminder of the looming deal that now felt less pressing. He glanced at Emily, who was timidly smiling, and felt determination flood through him. "Before we figure this out, there's something I need to tell you about my business," he began. And just as he opened his mouth to explain, a familiar voice interrupted them from the path ahead. "Jonathan, is that you?" The voice cut through the evening air, sharp and unexpected. It sent a chill down Jonathan's spine as he instinctively recognized it. He turned his head to see Karen, his former business partner, striding toward them. "Karen," he said, forcing a smile, even though his heart sank. This could not be happening now. Emily stiffened beside him, her expression shifting from confusion to irritation. "You know her?" "Yes, I used to work with her," Jonathan replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "What brings you here?" "I was just on my evening run when I saw you." She paused, her gaze lingering on Emily. "Hey there, kiddo. Long time no see." Emily gave a polite nod, but her eyes narrowed slightly. Jonathan could feel the tension rising around them, like a taut rope ready to snap. "Everything all right?" Karen asked, clearly noticing the strain. "You seem serious." "Yeah, we're just talking," Jonathan said, trying to project warmth and normalcy. But he could feel Emily's discontent pulsing next to him, and the moment hung heavy in the air. Air. Listen, Jonathan, I've been meaning to talk to you about the project launch. There are a few details we need to iron out before... Can we not talk about business right now? Jonathan interrupted, his voice sharper than he intended. Oh, of course. I just thought since you're here... Before she could finish, Emily stepped forward, her voice steady but infused with an edge. Dad, we were in the middle of something important. Jonathan's heart swelled with pride, but he also winced at the rawness in her tone. He yearned to defend her, but also wanted to keep peace. Karen, maybe we can catch up some other time. Sure, if that's what you want. Just thought I'd check in. Her eyes shifted between them, lingering with curiosity. You two have a lot to sort out, huh? Yeah, we do, Jonathan replied, determination threading through his words. Thanks for understanding. As Karen walked away, Jonathan felt the weight of unfinished conversations pressing on him. He turned to Emily, who was visibly upset, her arms crossed tightly. What was that about? She asked, her voice tense. Just an old business thing, he said, trying to brush it off. What's important is what you are telling me. Emily hesitated, her frustration palpable. I want you to be present, Dad, but it feels like even when you're here, you're distracted by work. How can I trust you? The innocent laughter of the children playing nearby etched a stark contrast to their conversation. Jonathan took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her words sink in. I know I have a lot to prove, he admitted, his voice softer now. I want to be present, not just physically, but emotionally. Can we start again, right here, right now? Emily's hardened expression softened a touch, but the uncertainty in her eyes lingered. I want to believe you, Dad. I won't let you down this time, he said, squeezing her shoulder gently. What if we make this our time? No distractions, just us. She looked away for a moment, weighing his words. What does that really mean for you? Your job? And there it was, the question that echoed with life-altering implications. He had never thought about his work as a wall between him and Emily, but now it lay bare. I need to make some changes, Em. This is bigger than business. It's about family, Jonathan responded, feeling a surge of determination. The truth was staring him down. He had to redefine success if he wanted to find his way back to her. Just as he opened his mouth to explain further, something inside him sparked. What if we start a tradition, like our ice cream days under the oak? We can do something every week, just us. Emily's face lit up with a glimmer of hope. Ice cream and a walk? Exactly. But even more than that, let's share what's important to us, what we're struggling with. I want to hear it all, he insisted. His tone earnest. She nodded slowly. Okay, that sounds good. But before they could dive deeper into their plans, a loud crash broke through the serene park setting, the sound of metal on metal. Jonathan's heart jolted as he turned to see a couple of teenage boys laughing near the swings, having just knocked over a trash can. Hey, watch it! Jonathan called out, his protective instincts kicking in. His gaze darted back to Emily, who looked both amused and troubled. There's a lot going on out there, Dad. Yes, there is. Grateful for the distraction, Jonathan tried to pivot back to the comfort of their conversation. But he couldn't shake off the feeling that their world was more complicated than he had realized. Let's keep talking, he urged, stepping closer again. It's our time to figure this out, remember? Emily's lips twitched into a small smile. It was a start. But in that moment, Jonathan felt a knot in his stomach. The distraction had been tangible, but so was the reality that awaited. What if the business could resist his changes? As they both stared at the nearby chaos, he realized he was stepping into uncharted territory. Something inside him stirred, and he knew he had to fight for this family. I won't let you wait any longer, Em, he said, determination coursing through him. But just as he prepared to reassure her, a sudden shout from the group of boys turned his focus elsewhere. Someone call an ambulance. I think he's hurt. Jonathan's heart raced anew, an icy dread settling over him. "Stay here," he told Emily as he ran to the commotion. Could this moment lead to the real change he desperately sought? Jonathan's legs moved instinctively as he rushed toward the chaos. The shouts echoed in his ears, a frantic urgency that propelled him faster. He could see a group of kids gathered near the swings, and his heart raced as he pushed through the crowd. When he reached the scene, he gasped. One of the boys lay on the ground, a twisted ankle clearly causing him great pain. His friends hovered around, their faces painted with worry and panic. "Whoa, what happened?" Jonathan asked, kneeling beside the boy. "I held the swing too hard, and he fell," one of the boys said, his voice shaky. Jonathan assessed the situation quickly. "Okay, we need to keep him calm. Someone call for an ambulance, and another find the closest adult." The boy on the ground winced, each breath sharp with pain. Jonathan offered him a reassuring smile, despite his own rising anxiety. "Hey, buddy, we're going to get help. Just stay still and breathe, all right?" Just then, he felt a small presence behind him. Turning, he saw Emily standing there, eyes wide with concern. "Is he going to be okay, Dad?" she asked, her voice a blend of fear and helplessness. Jonathan swallowed hard, wishing he could give her a comforting answer. "He will be, Em. Accidents happen," he replied softly, hoping to soothe both her and himself. Emily crouched down beside him, studying the boy's face. "He's scared," she whispered. "I know," Jonathan said, realizing she was picking up on the urgency of the moment. "And that's okay. We're here with him." As the minutes ticked by, Jonathan felt embers of doubt flare within him. Despite the chaotic scene, the words he had just shared with Emily played on repeat in his mind. The question of trust lingered like a dark cloud. Would she really believe he could change? "Dad, what happens now?" Emily asked, her gaze still fixated on the injured boy. He wanted to say everything would go back to normal, but life wasn't that simple. The truth sank into his bones. He couldn't shield her from life's unpredictability, but he could show her how to face it. "Now we wait for help, Em, but we also make sure he knows he's not alone." The sound of sirens pierced through the park, bringing a sense of relief to the worried group. Jonathan felt Emily's hand slip into his, and he squeezed it tight, grateful for her presence. The paramedics arrived, quickly taking charge. Jonathan stepped back, feeling a strange mix of relief and dread as he watched them work. This was a reminder of how fragile their safety could feel. Emily turned to him, a tremor in her voice. "Dad, what if something like that happened to you? The accident or being distracted and not being here?" Her words hit him hard, cutting through the noise. "That's why it's so important for me to be present, Em. Nothing matters more than you and your well-being." He watched as the paramedics carefully loaded the boy onto a stretcher, and he turned back to Emily. "I mean it. I will fight for this family. I promise." She searched his face, looking for the truth in his eyes. "Promise?" "Promise," he said, a vow resonating in his heart. As they watched the scene unfold, Jonathan was struck by a visceral feeling of determination. This was more than an accident. It was a catalyst. The universe had shaken him awake, urging him to prioritize what really mattered. But just as he felt that resolve solidify, Emily's expression shifted again. "I don't think we can wait much longer, Dad. Things are changing, and I need to know you mean what you say." Jonathan met her gaze, the urgency in her words igniting something within him. "Then let's make our first tradition right now. After this, we will go for that ice cream, no holds barred, and talk about everything. No distractions." She smiled faintly, and he could see a glimmer of trust returning, but uncertainty lingered. "Promise me you'll keep your word," she said, her eyes searching his. "I swear, just us," he insisted, his heart pounding with conviction. As the ambulance drove away with a flurry of lights, Jonathan realized that this incident had gifted him a crucial insight. It was more than just a moment of chaos. It was a turning point. But with that thought flashing in his mind, Jonathan felt a shadow lurking in the corner of his spirit. The reality of his workload still loomed, and the stakes couldn't be higher now. As they walked away hand in hand, he knew the real challenge was just beginning. Would he overcome the forces pulling him away from his family, or would the world he'd built drag him back into its grasp? "Let's get that ice cream," he said, trying to lighten the mood. "Okay, but it better be the biggest scoop they have," she replied, the lightness of her spirit sparking hope in him. Unbeknownst to them, the true test of their bond was just around the corner, and Jonathan couldn't shake the feeling that a storm was brewing. Jonathan and Emily made their way to the ice cream shop, the late afternoon sun casting a warm glow over the park. The chaos from earlier slowly melted away into the background, but the weight of their unsaid words lingered. Jonathan wanted the ice cream to wash away the heavy feelings of the day, to turn their experience into a memory they could both cherish. As they approached the colorful shop, the smell of waffle cones hit them, sweet and inviting. Jonathan felt a tickle of excitement in his chest. Ice cream had always been a special treat for him and Emily. This wasn't just about the dessert, it was about creating a moment, a foundation to rebuild trust between them. "Can I get 2 scoops? One for me and one for you, Dad?" Emily's voice was light but wrapped in eagerness. "Of course. You pick your flavors first," he said, stepping in front of her to hold the door open. Inside, the shop buzzed with laughter and chatter. Sights of vibrant ice cream flavors danced in front of him, rich chocolate, bright strawberry, and even a swirl of mint. He let Emily lead the way to the counter and squeezed her shoulder, grateful for her spirit. "Do you want to share with me?" Emily asked, her eyes wide as she pointed at the mint chocolate chip. "Yeah, let's do it. A scoop of that sounds just right," he answered, feeling a soft smile spread across his face. After placing their orders, they settled at a small table at the window. Jonathan took a moment, watching as Emily dug into her ice cream with a fervor that reminded him of her younger days. Memories of her running around the park, unburdened and carefree, brought a gentle warmth to his heart. "Dad?" she said suddenly, her voice breaking through his nostalgia. "Yeah, Em?" He glanced up, his spoon paused midair. "Do you really mean what you said back there, about fighting for us?" The directness in her question jolted him. It wasn't an easy thing for Jonathan to respond to, but this was their moment. "I do, more than anything. I've been distracted," he admitted, taking a deep breath. "But I see it now, how important it is to be present." Her eyes searched his face, and for a brief second, he hoped she'd see the sincerity pouring from him. "It just feels like everything is changing. I'm scared it won't be the same again." He wanted to reach across the table and hold her hand, to pull her from that fear. "I think change is just part of life, you know? It can be tough, but it can also be a chance to grow." "Like how you said today was a wake-up call?" Emily nodded, her brow furrowing slightly. "Exactly. We can use this moment to create our own traditions, something just for us." Emily's face brightened a bit at that, though her worry still lingered. "Like ice cream every Friday?" She smirked, the idea hanging in the air between them. "Absolutely. Ice cream Fridays can be a start," he chuckled, relieved to see a hint of her playful spirit returning. Suddenly, Emily looked serious again. "But what if you get too busy? You work a lot, Dad." That question settled hard in the pit of his stomach. There it was, the heart of the matter. How could he convince her that he'd changed if the history of his workaholic pattern loomed so large? "I'll find a way. I won't let my job come between us. I promise to protect our time together no matter what." He reached out, placing his hand gently over hers. She softened under the weight of his promise, but doubt still shimmered in her eyes. "I want to believe you, Dad. I really do." As they shared their ice cream, Jonathan knew that promises were only words without action. He needed to show her he could balance work and family. Their bond depended on it. Just as he contemplated his next steps, a text pinged on his phone. He glanced down at the screen, and his heart dropped. An urgent message straight from his work. The project he was leading was in jeopardy. He began, feeling the knot tighten in his throat. Dad? She asked, sensing his change in demeanor, the lightness of the moment suddenly dimmed. They locked eyes, and in that instant, he felt the weight of two worlds pulling him apart. The storm was brewing, and how he navigated this moment could decide everything. Would he give in to the demands of work, or could he choose his family instead? "Let me take care of it," he said, looking into her hopeful face. "But first, let's finish this ice cream." With their spoons clinking against the bowls, a flicker of reassurance sparked between them. Yet Jonathan couldn't shake the feeling that something was truly about to change. As they left the ice cream shop, Jonathan realized he couldn't escape the inevitable battle looming ahead. Would he rise to meet it, or would the demands of his empire pull him into a chasm he could no longer escape? The warm air wrapped around Jonathan and Emily as they stepped outside, the sounds of laughter from the ice cream shop fading behind them. He felt a mix of joy and tension pulling at him. That text nagged at the back of his mind like a shadow he couldn't brush away. They walked slowly, the small-town park swirling with colors, each blooming flower a reminder of what he stood to lose if he wasn't careful. "Dad, do you think we should talk about what you just saw?" Emily asked, breaking the silence that had crept in after they left the ice cream shop. Jonathan felt his heart beat faster. The weight of her gaze made it impossible to ignore the concern wrapped in her words. "What do you mean?" he asked lightly, but the tightness in his voice betrayed him. "About your work. You looked worried." He sighed, a hand running through his hair. "It was just a text, Em. Nothing I can't handle, I promise." But the promise felt heavier than the ice cream bowls they had left behind. "You say that, but it's like you're always fighting two battles," she said, a slight quiver in her voice. "It makes it hard to know which one you'll choose." That pierced through him like a dart. He wanted desperately to reassure her, to promise that she wouldn't have to feel those battles anymore. "I know I've messed up in the past, but this time is different. I want to make things right," he said, his voice firmer now. Emily stopped walking, her frown deepening. "Do you want to make things right for you or for us? Because it feels different, when you choose your work over family. I just don't want that to happen again." Her words lingered in the air, heavy and demanding. Jonathan blinked back an unexpected wave of emotion. "I'm trying to balance it all, Emily. You have to believe me." He leaned down, meeting her eye level. "You are my priority." She didn't respond immediately. Instead, she bit her lip, contemplating him as if she were searching for truth in his eyes. "I heard Mom say that you missed my last game," she said slowly, "and it hurt." The honesty in her voice turned his stomach. He had made so many promises he didn't keep. "They needed me at the meeting," he said, anger bubbling at the memory. "But maybe it was wrong of me to ignore how you feel. I shouldn't have let work come first." Tears shimmered in her eyes, and Jonathan felt a surge of pain for the gap that had grown between them. "Sometimes it's like you don't even see me," she whispered. "It's like I'm not even there." "Em," he began, but the lump in his throat silenced him. How could he mend this? How could he prove to her that he was changing? That she was enough? Just then, a little girl raced past them, squealing in delight, pulling the attention of several passing families. Jonathan watched as the girl dashed straight toward her father, who crouched down with open arms. They embraced, laughter spilling into the air, and Jonathan felt the sharp edge of regret twist inside him. He turned back to Emily, her face full of confusion and longing. "What do you want me to do?" he finally asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Emily considered a moment before answering. "Just be there, for real, not just in body, but in heart. And maybe Maybe we can make a plan so you can see my next game. A wistful smile crept across her lips, though a layer of doubt lingered beneath. He nodded instantly, relief flooding through him. I'm in. I'll be there, and I won't let anything interrupt. Not work, not anything. Promise? I promise, he said with full weight behind those words, but a part of him felt the pressing reality of the project looming back at work. As they resumed walking, Jonathan knew he was at a crossroads. How could he face the storm gathering ahead? Would he be strong enough to fight for his family or collapse under the weight of the demands of his job? A sudden ping from his phone jolted him again. He glanced down, the screen lighting up with more urgent notifications from his team. His breath caught in his throat. What if this time it was something critical? Dad? Emily's voice was a soft plea, pulling him back from the verge of another spiral. I'm here, Em, he said, though his focus was divided. He pulled out his phone, heart racing. As reality began to fragment, Jonathan realized the time for decisions had arrived. Would he continue to battle for the empire he had built, or would he turn to the only world that truly mattered? Let's figure this out before the next game, he said, determined not to let doubt cloud the newfound spark between them. Would he rise above it all, or would he surrender to the weight pulling him down? The answer felt just out of reach, and Jonathan knew the choice he faced. Would he be brave enough to lead his family, or would he let the chaos of work dictate the course of their lives? Jonathan's thumb hovered over the screen as the notifications blinked like little fireflies. His heart raced, caught in a web of responsibilities and love. He swallowed hard, torn between the demands of his job and the genuine need of his daughter standing right beside him. Dad, are you okay? Emily asked, concern knitted into her brow. Yeah, just work stuff, he said, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. But the ticking clock of his sanity echoed loud. He was losing her, bit by bit, and no company success was worth that. Is it important? She pressed, her voice steady yet fragile. He looked down at his phone, feeling the pull of urgency against the backdrop of her hopeful eyes. It's always important, he said quietly, his pulse quickening. But there was that word again, always, like a storm cloud gathering in the blue sky. Then go ahead and take care of it, she said, shifting her weight. The disappointment hung heavy between them, an invisible barrier he desperately wished to dismantle. Jonathan took a deep breath. No, Em, I promise to be here for you. He turned his phone face down, a small but determined act of rebellion against the world he'd built. And I mean it. She offered a hesitant nod, but there was a spark of understanding in her eyes that pushed back the doubts. As they walked, he caught the light breeze ruffling the leaves of the trees lining the path. He could smell the sweet scent of blooming flowers mingling with the fading warmth of the day. Emily reached for his hand, a simple gesture that planted a seed of hope in his chest. Hey, Dad, her question pulled him from his thoughts. Do you remember the last time we spent the entire day together? He frowned, his mind racing back through weeks and months tangled with meetings and deadlines. Not exactly, he admitted, the sting of regret mixing with recognition. It's been too long since we had a full day together, hasn't it? Yeah, she said softly, her voice almost a whisper. I really miss that. The thought of her waiting alone while he rushed off to another meeting cut deeply. Let's change that, he said, feeling an unexpected surge of determination. How about next Saturday? Just you and me. We can do whatever you want. No work, no interruptions. Her face lit up, brightening the uncertain shadows that had settled around them. Really? Can we go to the arcade after the picnic? Or maybe plan a movie night? Absolutely, he replied, a genuine smile breaking free. We'll fill the whole day with all our favorites. That sounds amazing, Dad, she exclaimed, the joy spilling out of her like sunlight breaking through a storm. As they continued down the park path, laughter echoed from nearby families engaging in weekend festivities. But the background noise faded into a comforting hum, and for the first time in a while, Jonathan felt the weight being lifted. But just as he began to feel connected again, the ping of his phone buzzed against his thigh. Urgent, insistent. He hesitated, but didn't reach for it. Not now, not today. Emily glanced up at him, sensing the shifting tide. "Dad, you don't have to ignore it if it's really important." He shook his head. "I want to focus on us." "What if something happens?" Her voice was laced with genuine concern. "Nothing will happen that can't wait a couple of hours," he insisted, trying to inject confidence into the words both for Emily and himself. "I'll make sure of it." He noticed the careful way she watched him, the lingering doubt still nestled in her eyes. Was he really fooling anyone? His heart slammed against his chest, the haunting thought of failing her again curling around him like a ghost. As they neared the swings, ringing laughter echoed once more, and Jonathan felt a surge of nostalgia course through him. The carefree joy of childhood, the simple act of swinging until you felt you could touch the clouds. They made their way to the swings, and he pushed Emily gently, her laughter filling the air. "Higher, Dad," she giggled, the sound integrating with the warmth surrounding them. For every ounce of tension that had lingered, he pushed back against it until nothing lay between them but the fleeting moment of laughter, swinging, and open skies. "Okay, Em," he finally said, breathless yet smiling. "One more swing and then we're grabbing dinner at that little diner you love. And I promise to be fully present." As he pushed her one last time, contemplating the strides ahead, the shadows of just a few hours prior vanished, entrustingly balanced by newfound joy. But in the pit of his stomach, a nagging dread began to emerge. Would that text still be waiting once the day was over? What would it bring into their world? Jonathan decided there would be a new challenge waiting for him beyond his moment of peace. And as much as he wanted to leave the storm at bay, it loomed near, waiting to strike. Suddenly, what felt like reconciliation was tangled with uncertainty. Could he face not only the consequences of his choices, but also the stakes of keeping his family whole? He wouldn't let go this time, not without a fight. But was he already too far in to turn back? The air around them was electric with laughter and the sound of joy as Emily swung higher, her squeals mingling with the whispers of the breeze. Jonathan felt momentarily weightless, suspended between the chaos of his professional life and the serene beauty of this simple moment with his daughter. He pushed her gently, feeling the rise and fall of her laughter like a comforting wave that brought him solace. "Look at me, Dad, I'm flying," Emily shouted. And for a moment, Jonathan desperately wished they could remain in this bubble of happiness forever. But in the back of his mind, that persistent buzz from his phone taunted him, a reminder of the responsibilities he had temporarily set aside. He shoved the thought away, not wanting to ruin the moment. But even as he enjoyed the swing, knots of anxiety twisted in his stomach, no matter how hard he fought to focus only on Emily. Finally, he let her swing down to a gentle stop. "All right, superstar, time for some dinner. Let's go get that burger you love." He grinned, masking the anxiety that lingered like a shadow over his smile. As they walked towards the diner, Emily's chatter filled the air. "Do you think we can get milkshakes too? They have those giant ones." Her eyes sparkled with excitement, and for a moment, Jonathan felt as if life could remain perpetually simple, filled with burgers and milkshakes, laughter and love. "Absolutely," he said, feeling the warmth in his chest. He took her hand as they crossed the street, the late afternoon sun casting a golden hue on their path. But as they approached the diner, his phone buzzed violently in his pocket, breaking the sweet little spell they had cast. "Dad?" Emily's voice cut through his thoughts, alarmed by the sudden jolt of his posture. "Are you okay?" "Yeah, sweetie. Just 1 second." Jonathan stepped aside, glancing at the screen. A message from his assistant flashed in bold letters. Emergency meeting scheduled for tomorrow. Mandatory attendance. His heart sank. He felt a lump catch in his throat. I should probably check this, he murmured, anxiety creeping back in like an unwelcome guest. Emily's brows furrowed. Can't it wait? We just got here. Just a minute, Em. I'll be right back, he replied, a forced smile barely masking the turmoil inside him. He was torn. Duty versus love? Career versus family? When did it become so complicated? As he read the message, panic clawed its way to the surface. The stakes were higher than ever, deadlines looming like storm clouds. Yet, as he stared at the screen, he could feel Emily's eyes on him, the weight of her disappointment heavy. Dad, her voice was small, breaking through the chaos. He turned to her, and in that moment, he saw the little girl wanting her father, not just a man running on autopilot. Okay, you know what, Em? He dusted off the fear in his heart. Forget the phone. Tonight, let's just be us. Her face lit up again, that pure joy flooding back. Really? Really, he said, forcing all the bravado he could muster into his words. As they stepped inside the diner, the smell of fries and burgers flooded his senses, grounding him again. For now, they were just a father and daughter, no distractions. But looming over him was the reality that no matter how much he'd wanted to embrace the simplicity of the moment, he couldn't shake the feeling of impending chaos waiting just beyond those diner doors. As they sat across from each other, their orders placed, Jonathan felt a mix of hope and dread. Could these moments truly shield his family from the waves crashing against his career? Or was it all a temporary escape? And what if tonight's laughter didn't last? What if, in the midst of their joy, he found himself facing a choice that would change everything yet again? He looked at Emily, her eyes wide with excitement, and felt the weight of his own unspoken fears. Would the storm finally break through? Or could he find a way to keep his family safe in the eye of it? He pushed the thought aside, but it lingered like a cloud, refusing to dissipate. Would he be able to hold on to this flicker of joy, or was he destined to lose it all once more? As they chatted, their food arriving, he couldn't help feeling the urge to protect her more fiercely than ever. But was it already too late to steer the ship back? The clatter of plates and the murmur of other diners filled the small space, wrapping Jonathan and Emily in a cozy cocoon of normalcy. As the waiter placed their burgers in front of them, the aroma wafted into Jonathan's senses. He watched Emily, her tiny hands gripping the bun, her eyes full of anticipation. "Dad, look!" she exclaimed, taking a bite so big it made her cheeks puff. Jonathan couldn't help but laugh. Amidst the whirlwind of worry, her innocent joy was a lifeline. "That's a serious bite, Em. You better not run away from me," he teased, taking a lesser but equally enthusiastic bite from his own burger. But as he chewed, the weight of the evening's earlier tension settled again, a heavy stone pressing on his chest. He tried to distract himself with conversation, asking her about school, her friends, and what games she might want to play once they got home. As little words of nonsense poured from her, Jonathan felt a glimmer of peace flowing through their shared laughter. Each moment, each giggle reminded him why he had come here in the first place. Just as he took another satisfying bite, a shudder from his pocket jolted him once more into reality. The buzzing was louder this time, more demanding. Jonathan's heart dropped. "What is it, Dad?" Emily asked, pausing mid-sentence, her excitement dimming just a notch. "It's just work," he swallowed hard, wiping his mouth with a napkin and pushing the thought away. "But you know what? It can wait." "Like you said before, right?" Her small voice pierced through his defenses, echoing the weighty parental promises he had made earlier. Jonathan had to let this go. Couldn't he just let it all slide for one evening? Emily smiled again, slowly bringing him back. Right, you're here now. That's all that matters. He marveled at her ability to shift the mood, her innocence an anchor against his swirling thoughts. She pushed her plate aside and leaned in closer, her eyes sparkling. Can we get dessert? Please, the giant milkshakes. He nodded, allowing the moment to unfold, letting her excitement build. All right, you've twisted my arm. Let's get the biggest one they have. I can't let my little girl drink alone. As he waved over the waiter, Emily practically vibrated with delight. Yet, just beneath the surface, Jonathan felt a deepening churn within. Each laugh from Emily seemed tinged with the haunting awareness of what waited outside in the real world. They both enjoyed their milkshake, the enormous glass between them, filled with whipped cream and multiple straws. But as she sipped on her half, Jonathan caught sight of a family at the far end of the diner. Two parents laughing with their two kids, sharing a moment that looked blissfully perfect. An ache settled in his heart. How could he protect his daughter from the chaos creeping in from around them? "Dad?" Emily's voice broke through his thoughts, a curious look on her face as she sucked the last of her shake. "Yes, sweetheart. Are you happy?" The simplicity of her question caught him off guard. He hesitated, feeling exposed. It wasn't that he wasn't happy. He was surrounded by the best reason to be, but the worry clung tight, dampening the brightness of the moment. "Of course I am, Em," he replied with an unwavering tone that he hoped carried the sincerity she needed. But the truth is, in that instant, all he could think about was the looming meeting, the work that always felt more important than he wanted it to be. Jonathan smiled down at his daughter, who looked so vibrant, so filled with life. He needed to be the father she deserved, the one who poured love over his fears. "Then why do you look a little sad?" she asked, her brow furrowing slightly. Was it too late for him to change her world? Could he find a way to merge both fatherhood and work without jeopardizing what mattered most? As he opened his mouth to reply, he felt the hangover of dread lurking just behind his words. "Sometimes we get caught up in things, Em. I'm just learning how to keep things in balance, but it'll be okay, I promise." "Okay," she accepted, but he saw the lingering doubt in her eyes. They both knew things weren't as simple as they seemed. In that moment, the air was thick with unspoken promises and quiet fears. He picked up the last bit of the milkshake and raised it in a toast. "Here's to us!" Emily giggled, and for a fleeting moment, joy mixed with the weight of reality. But as they clinked their straws together, Jonathan knew that whatever storm lay ahead, it was always a choice to hold on to these moments. And in a quiet corner of his heart, he wondered, when the clouds rolled back in, would he have the strength to navigate the storm? Or was he setting the stage for a heartbreak he couldn't foresee? As they finished their meal, the question lingered between them. Would tonight be a chapter of laughter, or would it lead them into the depths of uncertainty he'd been trying to escape? The diner buzzed around them, laughter and chatter blending into a comforting hum, but the shadows loomed close at Jonathan's heels. He watched as Emily broke into uncontrollable laughter over a silly joke involving a chicken crossing the road. Her laughter radiated pure joy, slicing through the heaviness of the day. For a brief moment, every worry seemed to melt away. "Dad, seriously, are you laughing at that? You're so easy," she teased, her eyes sparkling. It didn't matter how clouded his mind felt. Her joy became a light he couldn't ignore. "I guess I am. It's pretty silly," he chuckled, hoping to contain the tension inside him. But even as the warmth of laughter filled the air, Jonathan knew the storm still brewed on the horizon. The buzzing phone in his pocket felt like an ever-present reminder of looming responsibilities, but he tried to push it away. As they wrapped up their meal, a sudden clarity hit him like a bolt of lightning. Emily wasn't just hungry for ice cream, she was starving for connection. He recalled how in those fleeting moments beneath the oak tree, he had finally seen her again. It was time to not only promise change, but to demonstrate it. Emily, he said, setting down his fork and leaning closer, determination shining in his eyes. How about we make a plan? No more "I have to work" as an excuse. We'll create a tradition, something we can both commit to. Her face lit up, skepticism fading like morning mist. What do you mean? I mean like an adventure day. Every month, let's pick a day, an activity, just for us, he said, each word falling heavy with newfound purpose. Something like ice cream, and then maybe a hike. Just you and me. No phones, no work, like old times. Dad, that sounds awesome, she exclaimed, a wide grin lighting her face. Jonathan grinned back, feeling relief wash over him. And we'll make sure I keep my promises. You can hold me accountable. If I slip up, you get to remind me. Sound fair, Emily replied, her excitement palpable. When do we start? Next Saturday, just you and me. He was ready to claim this moment and carve a path toward redemption. As they exited the diner, the cool evening air greeted them. Jonathan held the door open, and Emily rushed out, laughing, suddenly feeling lighter. It was a stark contrast to the internal battle raging within him. They walked hand in hand, their bond rekindling under the soft glow of street lights. But practicality was creeping in again. As he stole a glance at his phone, he braced himself for the inevitable future of meetings, deadlines, chaos. Could he truly balance it all? Dad? Emily's voice broke through again, her gaze searching his. Yeah? Are you really going to keep your promise? No distractions? Her concern curled around him, and he felt the weight of her unspoken worries. Absolutely, he said, squeezing her hand. You know I need to do this. For you, for us. As they wandered, he spotted the old oak tree they had once cherished. Its leaves pasted against the dusk sky like golds and browns, whispering secrets of joyful days. An idea sparked. Let's take a picture there, a snapshot of us beginning anew. Great idea, let's, she exclaimed. With each step toward the oak, Jonathan felt something shift inside him. As they stopped beneath the branches, the world felt clearer. He pulled out his phone and captured the moment, a picture of them smiling with hope, a definitive representation of their fresh start. I can't wait to tell Mom about our new tradition, she squealed, her excitement bubbling over. A pang of realization struck him. Their family dynamic was evolving. He couldn't fix everything overnight, but this first step was pivotal, part of a series of steps toward reclaiming their bond. Me too, he responded, feeling a swell of pride amidst the uncertainty. As they walked away from the tree, a tightness in his chest relaxed. He knew it wouldn't be easy. There would be sacrifices, bumps along the way, but paradigms were shifting. The challenge wouldn't be work's demands. It would be the commitment to remain present, to embrace Emily's world, just as she yearned to embrace his. He couldn't hide his smile as they approached the park exit, ready to face whatever tomorrow held hand in hand. Their laughter filled the streets, a symphony of renewal echoing against the backdrop of the fading sunset. And in that moment, amid friendship and laughter, Jonathan realized this unlikely journey was the true American dream. It wasn't about the buildings he'd built or the cash flow he generated. It was about the family he fought to bring together, reconnect, and grow strong. As they strolled into the twilight, a gust of wind swept through the park, a promise of the future. One thing became clear. While the world of business would attempt to pull him back, he wouldn't let it. Not this time. Together, they would transform this path, one ice cream scoop at a time. So if you want to witness how these stories unfold, subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now. Your support fuels this journey into heartfelt stories. Comment below your reactions and feelings about the ending. Every word matters. And don't wait, not even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformation. Your support is vital. Only true fans understand its importance.